Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This is how I live into me what soul. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. It's when I can see the light, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is silent, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of death.
And good morning, good evening, or afternoon, depending what part of the globe you're on and what time zone you are in. I am your host, Brian G., coming at you live in living color from coast to coast, or something like that. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's enough mystery. That is quite enough mystery. Let's bring it home. Let's see who's behind the curtain. Well, that's not exactly a wizard. Disappointed. So am I. That's okay. We're going to keep it simple today. We're not going to go crazy. We're going to do Simply Lemonade. There, you can see it now. Boom. Slightly spiked. If it has over 5%, I'll be shocked. That's not bad. I mean, it barely has enough alcohol in there for it to contain, or for it to even be called soda pop. 5% juice, really? Probably has less alcohol than that. Oh, 5%. Contains 5% alcohol per volume. Ah, yes. That's actually refreshing. I could actually enjoy one of these mowing the lawn. Last week we tried Simply Peach, but Simply Lemonade definitely has my vote. If I had to choose between the peach and the lemonade, I probably would go with lemonade. And you know, those aren't even. I think they got many more flavors than that. Well. So much going on in the news, so little time. Twitter has finally become X videos all of a sudden. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Talk about killing an app. He is doing everything he can to kill it. It's almost intentional. I mean, You couldn't convince me otherwise. If you wanted to kill off this is how you do it. He is definitely giving you a workshop in how to kill an entire platform. I mean, kill an already functioning platform. I'm not going to go into Troth Central or Getter, Gabber, whatever, GIF, Gab, Good, whatever other. Parlor. There's the other one. I couldn't remember last time. Parlor. Dumbasses. It's just a bunch of right-wing sludge. Twitter looks like a sex work site for Nazis. Looking like that. I mean, and now Elon Musk is pissing off his neighbors in San Francisco. Or is it LA? Wherever headquarters is located. I think it's LA now. His stupid goddamn X sign he's got up on the top of the building, and it's sending a strobe. It's like a strobe light hitting the other buildings. No, well, I don't know if I'd call it MySpace. MySpace just became irrelevant. Twitter isn't irrelevant. Twitter is the actual opposite. It's literally being crashed into the ground. MySpace just, I don't know. There's a long sob story with MySpace, but it was just, it didn't evolve into much of anything. So anyway, but yes, as you could see, as my green screen points out, oops, let's try that again. Virtual background, boom. Don't say gay. And the question is, Governor DeSantis, were you born a bigot or is that a lifestyle choice? Yeah, very relevant. Excellent question. I think he's always been a douchebag his entire life. He's just channeled it into right-wingerism. But yeah, it's just sad. We'll go into Death Santis in more detail, but looks like somebody tried throwing shit at Cardi B in concert. Wrong thing to do, buddy. Have we learned nothing from the pandemic? Have we learned nothing about transference or spreading of diseases and germs? Have we not learned anything? Spitting on somebody is now assault. You take a beverage that you've been drinking out of and you fling it towards the stage. I think that's going to be considered assault as well. It should be if it's not. But I know Cardi B is going to get a lot of hate for this, but you know what? I don't care. You know what? Good. I hope this pisses off the right wingers. I really do. Let's move on. Let's see if I can pull this up. Cardi B, boom. And let's play it. I've already seen 3 or 4 angles of this. This was not an accident. Absolutely not. So basically nailed her with that mic. Maybe I should turn the volume off so I don't get a copyright strike. Fucking hell. Just ruins it for everybody. Can't share a 30 seconds worth of music and then it's considered a copyright strike. Yeah, so that's a long distance when you think about it. You know, an accident is when somebody is directly in front of you and they accidentally spill something on you. This was literally flung 1, 2, 3, 4. That is that's like 20 feet. 15 if we're being extremely generous. That was not an accident. And everyone kept saying, "Oh, well, it's just water. It's just water." How do you know it's water? How do you know what was in that cup? I certainly don't. It could have been a cup of piss for all we know. Let's watch another one from another angle. Nope, I don't want to share video. Let's try it again. Nope, I don't want to do that. Nope, don't want to do that. Fighting back. Okay, here's another. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, yeah, this is front row. I mean, boom. Here we go. Boom. Yep. I mean, she flung it far too. I mean, I'm sorry, that was not a accident, because there's another section angle where the camera's literally pointed right at the woman who flung that drink, whatever was in there, and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's like, no, bitch, you ain't. Look, boom, flung it. I mean, look at that. That is fucking deliberate. That is fucking deliberate. That was not an accident. Fuck off. Okay, that's it. That's all I want to show. But yeah, there you go. This phenomenon of throwing stuff, I mean, one was a cell phone, a cigarette lighter. What was another thing that got thrown in the past month? It's like people are just continuously throwing stuff. It's like, stop already. It's not cool. You're creating a moment in which you are embarrassing yourself. Yeah. Anything heavier than panties is out the window. No, can't do it. Or should we say nothing but pant? Well, anyway, panties only. That's it. But here we go. It's just unreal. Throwing heavy objects, throwing liquid. First of all, I mean, it could have been anywhere. It could have been anything. She could have what's the next thing going to be? You know, actual piss in a bottle? What else? A bunch of backwash from someone's drink? Acid? I mean, the list is endless. Let's just keep it going. You know, people are like, "Oh, well, it's not going to hurt her anyway." And it's like, no, that's not the point. The point is, if we keep normalizing throwing stuff at performers, not only do you ruin the whole experience for everybody, people paid. And this woman was literally 15 feet from the stage, if she was even that close. She paid good money to be there. Why would you ruin it? And I'm sorry, that was not an accident. You cannot convince me that was an accident. That was a deliberate. I'm sorry, that an accident is spilling something on your neighbor. Maybe 2 rows, if you got that out of control. But 15 feet up at a stage in her face? No, that was not an accident. And someone said that was in Vegas somewhere. I'm like, I don't know. But holy shit, they've got facial recognition software. They could ban you for life if they wanted to. I mean, you just ruined an experience for the rest of your life. Think about that. Why would you be so reckless? Why would you do that? You paid good money to be there. Now you're being thrown out of the venue. So, bye-bye. Toodaloo. Here's where I wanted to, this is what I wanted to grab your attention. So we all know about the kerfluffle of Ron DeSantis and the culture wars. I want you to look at all the things that are not being addressed. Of all the things not being addressed, this is one of the least addressed issues. Kind of pisses me off, but well, anyway, here we go. This was taken about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. This is footage. An actual veteran took footage, just decided to stream himself.
7 times over the course of the last 6 years, dude. The VA has continued to let me down. I just want some continuity of care with mental health providers. These doctors keep quitting, they keep switching. And then the one doctor that I really liked, who talked me off a ledge the last time, refused. I had a split because they fell in a network, and then they came back in a network. So I went the last 2 years dealing with my own demons myself and trying to hold it together. And then come to find out, it's like May, it's like late May, and he denied taking my case back. April 12th, and I'm just finding out, dude. And now I gotta go back to some new doctor, and then I gotta open Pandora's box again because they're gonna want to know everything, and then I'm gonna have to live through working through that for a month. I just want some continuity of care, dude. I'm fucking so tired of it. I just want to be able to talk to the same person and have the same individual manage my goddamn meds. I've been off all my medications for 2 years. I've been doing it on my own, man. I'm just white knuckling. I'm gripping. Jesus, I'm so tired of it. It's not a lot to ask. I just want to be able to talk to the same person and not continue to have to retell these fucking stories that torment me. I fucking get it now. I really do. I just want some continuity of fucking care.
A couple of days after this clip, they got him on Fox News, or maybe it was a couple of weeks. They got him on Fox News. And, you know, of course, he didn't have any answers as to why VA is as bad as it is, you know, and people kept, I was looking in the comment section of the Fox video. I'm not even going to say news. And they kept blaming Ukraine. Well, we're giving all this money to Ukraine, but we can't help this guy. It's like people like him existed during the Trump administration, during the Obama administration, before Ukraine was even a thing. Okay? People like him were experiencing the same issues. Maybe, just maybe, it has nothing to do with how much money we're giving Ukraine. And it means that we have the money to solve this man's problem. Why isn't it being used? Maybe, just maybe, voting Republican and voting in people that are not moving legislation along to deal with this. Because remember, this takes an act of Congress. This isn't just a thing that a president can snap his fingers and make it magically happen. It literally takes an act of Congress. What's going on in the Congress? What is the common denominator? Every piece of legislation to help people like him that has been put forward in Congress has been voted down by a majority Republican-controlled Congress, House. And if it doesn't get past the House, guess what? It doesn't get past the Senate. It can't reach the Senate. You know, why aren't Republicans doing anything to help these? We know the Democrats want to. The Democrats have been putting in legislation for years that would help solve the VA crisis. Would help people like this man. And many more like him. He's not the only one. He's one of literally thousands. Well, yeah, if you can't keep staff, why aren't they keeping staff? This is the question we should be asking. Why can't the VA keep staff and doctors? Why is it? And he referenced it. Doctors were continually going in and out of network. What is this network? Why is the VA subject to any network? Why should the VA be on any network? It should be its own network. That's it. When you sign up for our armed forces, you get guaranteed health care. And that includes mental health. Mental health gets included. But the VA is a government-run institution. When you defund it, this is what happens. When you fuck around with it and start tweaking it and putting rules on it that requires in-network, out-of-network bullshit, this bullshit, that, this is what you run into. You get dropped. You get bounced around like this man. The VA needs a serious overhaul, and the only way it's going to get done is if Democrats are going to do the work. Republicans have already told you flat out, they refuse to legislate. They refuse to govern. They're more interested in Bud Light. They're more interested in transgenders, which is kind of creepy when you think about it. They're more interested in library books in schools. They're more interested in cancellation. The group of people that excel in cancellation are screaming about being canceled. Go figure. The Republicans are more concerned with the backlash of Jason Aldean. Oh, it's like, you know what? We'll feel sorry for Jason Aldean as soon as you apologize to the Dixie Chicks and for the hell that you fuckwits put them through, going all the way back to year 2001 and 2002. And the great cancellation that followed them for over a decade after that. Unbelievable. Republicans will not do the work. They refuse. I thought I would talk. I would switch gears a little bit. Let's get a break from Tovia Singer. Oh, speaking of Tovia Singer, not really tangent. It's really not in tangent with him, but it's more or less Israel. But Israel is in turmoil right now. And because the minority group, the minority party, this is why having more political parties does not solve anything. In fact, it makes it worse. As you know, Benjamin Netanyahu is in a small political party, but powerful enough to get back in. They had enough votes to get back in just when he was ousted the first time. Unbelievable. The parliamentary system is not the best system at all because it ensures that a smaller faction can get in control easier. And so Bibi Netanyahu is literally facing judicial scrutiny. He is facing penalties for crimes of extortion, for bribes, for corruption, you name it. You name the crime, he's literally almost guilty of it, short of murder. Anyway, we'll leave the Palestinian issue alone for a minute. But this guy is literally trying to do away. This is why you cannot trust right wingers. They do not care for the rule of law. Bibi Netanyahu is literally trying to do away with the Supreme Court, or literally curtail their power in small incremental steps to the point where they have no power at all, so he can escape justice. This is what is happening in Israel right now. And this is why over 200,000 protesters have marched on Jerusalem. They're like, enough. But no, he's already done it. He's already done it. The protesters were a little late, but here we go. Here we are. And with that, we have no idea where it's going to go. We have no idea how far this is going to go, how far this will carry on. I mean, it's just wild what's happening. So this is a mess. I'm telling you, Israel is now 10 steps ahead of us in its march toward authoritarianism. They literally jumped ahead of us when we ousted Donald Trump from power by voting him out. And again, this is why I say a third party is not going to fix any problems in this country. It just does not. It'll gridlock our country to the point where no legislation gets through. Meaningful legislation. Having multiple parties dilutes power and thus makes it easier for a smaller faction. How do you think Adolf Hitler got into power? He just needed enough support from other parties who knew they were not going to get elected, so they all banded together, and that's how the Nazis got in control. If it were a two-party system, Hitler wouldn't have even seen the light of day. Wouldn't have even been close. They had like 10 or 12 different parties. I mean, the Catholics had their own political party. It's unbelievable. But moving on. Anyway, I just wanted to get you up to speed on that. Neither here nor there. Let's get all things biblical. All right. Let's go to a discussion with Bart Ehrman. We haven't heard from him in a while, have we? And let's see what he has to say. Alex O'Connor is still doing strong on YouTube. I see 500,000 subscribers. Not bad. All right, here we go.
I had an episode with William Lane Craig, and he put forward a historical case for the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. And I remember in that podcast, I sort of listening back, I'd wished that I pushed back a little more. And a lot of people actually noticed, and they said, I'm surprised that you didn't really give him a bit more grief for it. Yeah. But I figured that perhaps rather than making a botched attempt at doing it myself, it'd be better to ask you. I mean, his view on the matter, along with many others, is that we have a few facts about Jesus that we can pretty confidently say are true. Firstly, that a man called Jesus existed and was sort of going around teaching an ethical code of sorts and gaining followers, got into disrepute with the Roman authorities, was killed by crucifixion, and that afterwards groups of people claim to have seen him. Do you think that all of these facts are sort of well established?
Yes.
So given that, how do we explain the fact that all of these are true at the same time?
Oh, well, I don't think any trouble at all. I mean, we have other figures in history for whom we have things like that. Those 4 facts. I mean, Romulus, the founder of Rome. I don't know if he was a historical figure or not, but people thought he was, and he certainly ended up somehow leaving the earth. And people, there were eyewitnesses saying that they saw him alive afterwards.
I mean, do we have sort of, firstly, that are the sources as reliable? Are they as well attested? Do we have
no, that's another question. See, that's not one of your 4 things.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm asking about is when we say that these facts are well established.
Well, the historian Livy, so he's a Roman historian, and he reports that. Or Apollonius of Tyana. We have eyewitness testimony to his being raised from the dead. Or
what eyewitness testimony are we talking about? Like who is it that claims
followers of his?
Like groups at the same time, they sort of all see him sort of all in the same room? Or
oh no, but see, now you're getting into other facts. See.
Yes.
So the question is, what are facts? So if you're just talking about those 4 elements, then we certainly have those 4 elements. So they're not difficult to explain. What William Lane Craig wants to do, though, is to take those 4 facts and start adding others to them as if they're the same value.
What other facts are we talking about here? Like,
well, he says that we know that there was an empty tomb.
And you don't think that that's the case?
I don't know.
And one of the things that I think Dr. Craig might say on that point is that if people were claiming to have seen him, if people were claiming that this man had risen from the dead, the tomb was there. It was something people could have gone to check. And it would have probably been one of the first things that they did upon hearing that this Jesus figure had risen from the dead. If there were no empty tomb, surely someone would have discovered this. This is not good evidence confirming the idea that there was, in fact, an empty tomb.
Well, it presupposes that he was buried in a tomb.
This is one of the facts that that William Lane Craig thinks we can say as well established, that he was buried in a tomb. That's important to him. You don't think so?
No, I don't. I mean, that's the thing. He takes these 4 things that basically everybody would agree on. There's a man, Jesus got killed. Later, people said they saw him alive. So that's fine. I mean, those 4 are easily explained. Was there an empty tomb? There are very big problems with thinking there was a tomb at all. He's presupposing that the gospel story is right, that Joseph of Arimathea took Jesus the afternoon he was crucified and put him in a family tomb, and on the 3rd day, women came and found the tomb empty. Okay, so what is our evidence of it? Well, the evidence, of course, is only in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They say that. And it was the tradition the Christians had for a very long time. So it's certainly the Christian tradition. But there are lots of reasons for doubting that it's right, that he's never taken very seriously. That, I don't know if this was on your thing or not, but somebody last week was interviewing me and replaying some things where he was trashing me for some debate we had 20 years ago, where he said that, the only reason I reject the resurrection is because I've got some kind of warmed over Humean understanding of things, and I've never read Hume. It's like, it is just so wrong. It's just like, it's just factually wrong. But apart from that, he says that I'm not a historian. I don't know what he thinks. I do know what he thinks I am. He thinks that I'm a textual critic, whatever he thinks that is. And that's just completely wrong too. It's just like he knows nothing about me, but he's making stuff up.
I'm sorry. These commercials kill the joy. Get your smiling face out of my screen. Thank you.
And look at what you know about the situation. Historians look at what you know about the situation at the time period. And I don't know if William Lane Craig has even read much history about the time period. But one thing to look at is, for example, just as an example, what do Romans do with crucified victims? So we have records of, we don't have lots of records. I mean, one of the really interesting things that people don't realize, we have no literary description of a crucifixion from the ancient world. Like, nobody describes how they did it. Like, were they typically nailed? We know they were nailed sometimes because we have some nails that with DNA on. We've got that organic material. Were they tied? Were they crossbeams? Were they stakes? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff we don't really know. We do have a number of references to what Romans did once the person died on the crosses, and the accounts are consistent that what they did is they left them on the crosses as part of the humiliation.
Yes.
That they would decompose on the cross and be attacked by scavengers. And so we have off-the-cuff remarks in a number of sources that that's just what they did. And so there are debates about that. We can have debates about whether that happened within Judaism or not. People say, yeah, Jews didn't allow that. That's absolutely right. Jews didn't allow it. But the Jews weren't killing it. The Romans were killing it.
Yeah.
and so forth and so on. So I don't know of any instance where we have a verified account of anybody being buried on the afternoon of the crucifixion in a known tomb. So how likely is it that they made an exception in the case of Jesus? I mean, we think they would because, he's the Son of God, and so he's exceptional. But, I mean, Pilate didn't know that Jesus was the Son of God. He was just one of the guys he was crucifying that morning.
It's still quite an exceptional case. I mean, Pilate seems quite distressed at the fact that Jesus ends up going to...
According to whom?
To crucifixion. Well, according to the gospel narrative.
Christian narrative.
But this is a possibility.
He crucified, it's possible. It's possible he's more upset about one of the other two guys.
If it is true that you have an instance of Pilate really not thinking that this man ought to be crucified and asking the crowds...
No, but I don't think that's historical. Why would you think that's historical?
I guess I'm not trying to make the case that it's... That we can know that this is the case. But this might be an explanation as to why we do have an instance of the Romans making an exception when it comes to sort of leaving someone on the cross. Because Jesus was exceptional, not just because he was the Son of God, because, of course, I don't believe that, and the Romans wouldn't have believed that, but that it was still an exceptional case.
Why?
I guess in the case of Pilate, this might have been someone who we really didn't think deserved to be crucified.
Why?
Because this would be the case if the gospel narratives are correct, if what's written there is correct.
That's right.
I'm not claiming to be able to say that we know that they are, but if they were, this would offer an explanation of how we have an exception.
But the argument then is, if the gospel narratives are correct, then the gospel narratives are correct. And so that's not an argument.
But it seems to me that might be the case if the narratives were written so as to obviously give an explanation as to why Jesus was taken down from the cross. If it was clear that...
Yes, the gospel writers are explaining why he would be allowed off. That's right.
It doesn't seem particularly plausible to me, though, that the idea of presenting Pilate as slightly disturbed by the idea of Jesus being crucified was a device that was used to explain why Jesus would...
I have to butt in here because anybody who knows anything about the historical Pilate would know that Pilate took extra relish, enjoyment in killing innocent people. He didn't give a damn. He didn't give a damn and a half. This guy was a psychopath. Okay. In fact, twice that we know of, a group of Jewish leaders literally made an envoy to petition Caesar to get him to get Pilate off of their backs, to get him to stop killing indiscriminately. Twice. 2 appeals to Caesar. And that's not even counting all of the reports that other Roman I guess officials would have made reporting on the conduct of Pilate. One thing that Rome prided itself is in keeping peace. What Pilate was doing during his reign in Judea was to foment war, to foment discontent. And he did this regularly. I mean, he would kill groups of people just for the fuck of it. He didn't care. He hated being where he was, and he took it out. He took his displeasure out on the Jewish people. So why would he even be remotely disturbed by Jesus or anybody called Jesus? Why would he wouldn't have cared?
Jesus would have been taken down from the cross when Romans didn't usually do that.
The reason for
That
showing
seems a little
Pilate's,
far-fetched.
the reason for showing Pilate's disturbance is something else. The reason that when you look at Pilate's portrayed in the Gospels, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and then you even add on later Gospels like Gospel of Peter and later Gospels, when you do that and you line them up chronologically, Pilate gets more and more disturbed.
Yep.
And he starts in Mark. He and kind of the Jewish council they agree. Okay, he needs to be crucified. In Matthew's gospel, he washes his hands and says, "I'm innocent of this man's blood," and the crowd cries out, "His blood be upon us and our children." When you get to Luke, a little bit later, Pilate declares Jesus innocent 3 times, and he sends him off to Herod, who declares him innocent. When you get to the Gospel of John, he declares him innocent 3 times, and it says in John, the chief priests and scribes insisted to be crucified. And when you read it in the Greek, it says Pilate then handed him over to them to be crucified.
Yep.
When you get to the Gospel of
That's
Peter,
right.
even more, Pilate gets increasingly innocent, proclaiming Jesus' innocence. Why is that?
Yes.
Scholars have long known the answer to this one. If Pilate's not at fault, then who is? It's those damn Jews. They did it to him. So the reason for Pilate's exoneration is in order to heighten Jewish culpability. I don't think that's a historical motif.
It's an anti-Semitic trope is what it is. This is why Christendom has been against the Jews for centuries. There's been a long feud between Jews and Catholicism. This anti-Jewish sentiment sentiment, which was started in the Gospels. The seeds were planted to the point where it wasn't even Pilate. By the time you get to it, yeah, he's right. By the time you get to John, it's amazing how I didn't even pick up on this as a Christian. The narrative changes from Pilate to the Jews killing him, to the Pharisees. When in the fuck ever were the Jewish Pharisees given authority to crucify anybody? I think not.
If you actually know anything about Pilate, I mean, if you read the descriptions in Philo or Josephus, this is not somebody who sat around agonizing about crucifying the wrong guy. And to think that Jesus is the exception just means that we're so used to thinking of Jesus as the exception. But for Pilate, he's just one of these troublemakers. He's calling himself the king of the Jews. Crucify him.
But now, a moment ago, you said that, okay, William Lane Craig is wrong because he says that we can know there's an empty tomb, and we can't. It seems to me a relatively minor detail in that you said, we have these 4 facts, including that Jesus was crucified, including that groups of people claim to have seen him after he died. And you say,
I'm not sure groups of people claim.
Okay, because this is what I wanted to pick up on when you said that this can be easily explained. What is it that you think can be explained? The fact that we have records of groups claiming to see Jesus, the fact that groups did actually claim to see Jesus, the fact that individuals claim to see Jesus. What are the things that you think, this isn't troubling for us to explain without having to invoke a resurrection? I
don't think it's troubling to invoke the idea that there were individuals who claimed they saw Jesus alive afterwards. I don't think we have good attestation for it. I think the Apostle Paul claims he saw Jesus alive a few years afterwards. And so I think, I don't think he's lying about it. I think he probably thought he saw Jesus.
Paul, also being our earliest source of the New Testament, claims at one point that Jesus appeared to 500 people.
That's right. That's right.
This seems to be some good evidence that we do have.
No, I don't think so. Paul knows there's a story that 500 people saw him, but I don't think that's evidence that 500 people saw him. That's a claim, and so a claim isn't evidence. Evidence is when you try to substantiate the claim. And so how do you go about establishing whether 500 people actually saw Jesus? Well, you look at what Paul says, and then you see, are there other sources to corroborate it? Paul's writing before the Gospels. None of the Gospels mentions anything about this, or the Gospel sources. So Paul's our only source. And so is he right or not? Well, it seems like if 500 people saw him, that this would be something that other people would mention. So I don't think we know. The thing about seeing things is that we have all the time, we have people who see things that aren't there. And a lot of evangelical Christians say, look, if you've got group visions, you can't have group hallucinations.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you explain Mother Mary showing up to hundreds of people at one time?
Well, I think, I understand what you're saying, that we have examples of groups of people claiming that they've seen something that we don't actually believe they did.
Yes.
However, it seems in the case of the group sightings of Jesus, of the gospel narratives, we're talking about a man like physically walking into a room, interacting, talking with these people. Yeah, right. It's not like sort of seeing a vision of Mary.
We have modern accounts of Jesus showing up today in all sorts of circles.
But I don't suppose that we have accounts of a man who dies being seen by groups of people physically in the flesh, talking to them, interacting with them, allowing them to sort of touch his hands, and appearing to people who spent significant periods of their life following them. And it's not like they could have been mistaken about the identity.
We certainly do have that of individuals. In the ancient world, we have accounts of Romulus appearing to a senator and explaining what's happened to him. And so I think that, and my view of this is that the kinds of evidence we look for Jesus needs to be the kind of evidence we allow for anyone else. And so it's striking to me that evangelical Christians focus on the Jesus materials, but they don't look at traditions that are comparable from the same period or since. And so they say, well, you can't have group hallucinations, but they think that's exactly what you have when the Blessed Virgin Mary shows up. Or they say it's different because Jesus' disciples saw him. Well, okay, but that's true of Apollonius of Tyana. Or that they'll say, well, but so many people have come to believe this, that it's implausible that would happen if so many people believe. Well, there are about 2 billion people in the world who think that Muhammad was physically taken up into heaven. So do you use the same criteria, or do you make exceptions in your case?
But to have all of these things together in one example, I mean, you're quite right that you have a sort of an ancient account of an individual claiming to see somebody, and then you have a modern account of groups claiming to see a vision of something, and then you have lots of people coming to believe something that they didn't see themselves. But put them together, groups of people seeing a sort of physical, physical sighting of a man who they used to know and followed around, and lots of them coming to believe that's the case all together seems to be a higher standard of evidence.
None of those people in any of those groups attests to it. You see what I'm saying? We don't have groups of people saying they saw Jesus.
We have individual writers.
We have writers saying that groups of people saw him, and that isn't the same thing. You actually do have groups of people saying they saw Mary, and so that's stronger evidence.
The full conversation that the clip you just watched was taken from is available via the link that just appeared on.
Oh my goodness. We don't have an hour 31. Let me just see what it's all about. Okay. Well, that was a good start anyway.
It's everything.
Well, that wasn't a bad segue or little escapism, you could say. And it's been a while since I've seen a video of Bart Ehrman anyway, so that was good. All right. Well, let's do this. Let us get into the Bible reading. All right. We'll do Daniel chapter 11. Whoops. Too far. Right. We'll share screen and we'll do Daniel chapter 11. All right. And away we go.
Daniel 11. And as for me, in the first year of Darius the Mede, I stood up to confirm and strengthen him. And now I will show you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings shall arise in Persia, and a 4th shall be far richer than all of them. And when he has become strong through his riches, he shall stir up all against the kingdom of Greece. Then the mighty king shall arise, who shall rule with great dominion and do as he wills. And as soon as he has arisen, his kingdom shall be broken and divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, but not to his posterity, nor according to the authority with which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up and go to others besides these. Then the king of the south shall be strong. But one of his princes shall be stronger than he, and shall rule, and his authority shall be a great authority. After some years, they shall make an alliance, and the daughter of the king of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the strength of her arm, and he and his arm shall not endure. But she shall be given up, and her attendants he who fathered her, and he who supported her in those times. And from a branch from her roots one shall arise in his place. He shall come against the army, and enter the fortress of the king of the north, and he shall deal with them, and shall prevail. He shall also carry off to Egypt their gods with their metal images and their precious vessels of silver and gold, and for some years he shall refrain from attacking the king of the north. Then the latter shall come into the realm of the king of the south, but shall return to his own land. His sons shall wage war, and assemble a multitude of great forces, which shall keep coming and overflow and pass through, and again shall carry the war as far as his fortress. Then the king of the south, moved with rage, shall come out and fight with the king of the north, and he shall raise a great multitude, but it shall be given into his hand. And when the multitude is taken away, his heart shall be exalted, and he shall cast down tens of thousands, but he shall not prevail. For the king of the north shall again raise a multitude, greater than the first. And after some years, he shall come on with a great army and abundant supplies. In those times, many shall rise against the king of the south, and the violent among your own people shall lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they shall fail. Then the king of the north shall come and throw up siege works, and take a well-fortified city. And the forces of the south shall not stand, or even his best troops, for there shall be no strength to stand. But he who comes against him shall do as he wills, and none shall stand before him. And he shall stand in the glorious land with destruction in his hand. He shall set his face to come with the strength of his whole kingdom, and he shall bring terms of an agreement, and perform them. He shall give him the daughter of women to destroy the kingdom, but it shall not stand or be to his advantage. Afterward he shall turn his face to the coastlands, and shall capture many of them. But a commander shall put an end to his insolence. Indeed, he shall turn his insolence back upon him. Then he shall turn his face back toward the fortresses of his own land. But he shall stumble and fall, and shall not be found. Then shall arise in his place one who shall send an exactor of tribute for the glory of the kingdom. But within a few days he shall be broken, neither in anger nor in battle. In his place shall arise a contemptible person to whom royal majesty has not been given. He shall come in without warning, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Armies shall be utterly swept away before him and broken, even the prince of the covenant. And from the time that an alliance is made, with him he shall act deceitfully, and he shall become strong with the small people. Without warning he shall come into the richest parts of the province, and he shall do what neither his fathers nor his fathers' fathers have done, scattering among them plunder, spoil, and goods. He shall devise plans against strongholds, but only for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his heart against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall wage war with an exceedingly great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for plots shall be devised against him. Even those who eat his food shall break him. His army shall be swept away, and many shall fall down slain. And as for the 2 kings, their hearts shall be bent on doing evil. They shall speak lies at the same table. but to no avail. For the end is yet to be at the time appointed, and he shall return to his land with great wealth. But his heart shall be set against the holy covenant, and he shall work his will, and return to his own land. At the time appointed, he shall return and come into the south, but it shall not be this time as it was before. For ships of Kittim shall come against him, and he shall be afraid and withdraw, and shall turn back and be enraged and take action against the holy covenant. He shall turn back and pay attention to those who forsake the holy covenant. Forces from him shall appear and profane the temple and fortress, and shall take away the regular burnt offering, and they shall set up the abomination that makes desolate. He shall seduce with flattery those who violate the covenant, but the people who know their God shall stand firm and take action. And the wise among the people shall make many understand, though for some days they shall stumble by sword and flame, by captivity and plunder. When they stumble, they shall receive a little help. And many shall join themselves to them with flattery, and some of the wise shall stumble, so that they may be refined, purified, and made white until the time of the end, for it still awaits the appointed time. And the king shall do as he wills. He shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak astonishing things against the God of gods. He shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished, for what is decreed shall be done. He shall pay no attention to the gods of his fathers, or to the one beloved by women. He shall not pay attention to any other god, for he shall magnify himself above all. He shall honor the God of fortresses instead of these, a God whom his fathers did not know. He shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. He shall deal with the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign god. Those who acknowledge him he shall load with honor. He shall make them rulers over many, and shall divide the land for a price. At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, but the king of the north shall rush upon him like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen and with many ships. And he shall come into countries, and shall overflow and pass through. He shall come into the glorious land, and tens of thousands shall fall, but these shall be delivered out of his hand: Edom and Moab, and the main part of the Ammonites. He shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall become ruler of the treasures of gold and of silver, and all the precious things of Egypt, when the Libyans and the Cushites shall follow in his train. But news from the east and the north shall alarm him, and he shall go out with great fury to destroy, and devote many to destruction. And he shall pitch his palatial tents between the sea and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, with none to help him. Daniel 12. At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince who has charge of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never has been since there was a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, every one whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars for ever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, two others stood, one on this bank of the stream, and one on that bank of the stream. And someone said to the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the stream, How long shall it be till the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the stream. He raised his right hand and his left hand toward heaven, and swore by him who lives forever that it would be for a time, times and half a time, that when the shattering of the power of the holy people comes to an end, all these things would be finished. I heard, but I did not understand. Then I said, O my Lord, what shall be the outcome of these things? He said, Go your way, Daniel, for the word are shut up and sealed until the time of the end. Many shall purify themselves and make themselves white and be refined. But the wicked shall act wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. But those who are wise shall understand. And from the time that the regular burnt offering is taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he who waits and arrives at 1,335 days. But go your way till the end, and you shall rest, and shall stand in your allotted place at the end of the days. The book of Hosea, chapter 1. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea.
Okay, and we will, and that's the end of the book of Daniel. Nice. Let's make a note of that for next week. Yeah, it's amazing. Have you noticed that there is a secret part of Daniel that we don't even know about? So whenever I hear Christians say, oh, we have the complete word of God, I think back to this book and say, wait a minute, no, the word of God isn't even finished. Part of Daniel is still sealed up. We don't know. It could be only half of what we know. Anyway, it's just something to play around with. Okay, and let's continue the nightmare. Yes, we're gonna read some more of this asshole who thinks he knows more about science, embryology and human development. He knows more than all of the doctors. He knows more than all of them put together, and he has put a small book together to show what everybody else got wrong, what they all missed. And now we're going to join him in a fictitious conversation. Isn't that amazing? I mean, the nerve of this guy. Look how skinny that book is. And this is all we've read so far. This guy literally thinks he knows more than the doctors. Ugh. Okay. He answers issue by issue. Here we go. Here's claim number 1. Termination of an ectopic pregnancy is necessary to save the life of the mother. Yes, it actually has been demonstrated to save life. In fact, we have statistics where women have died or have been rendered barren because they could not get the help that they needed. His answer, the actual danger that an ectopic pregnancy poses to the mother is that of a tubal rupture or some other kind of hemorrhage, which could cause the mother to lose a vital amount of blood, hence death. Treatment with auto transfusion instead of abortion has a success rate of 99.84. In 1914, a doctor in Germany reported success in using autotransfusion to treat ruptured ectopic pregnancies. Autotransfusion involves siphoning the blood which has spilled into the abdominal cavity, running it through a filter, and then pumping it back into the mother's body. In 2002, a worldwide study of 632 ruptured ectopic pregnancies treated with autotransfusion reported only a single instance of death. That's a success rate of 99.84. Based on calculations of ectopic pregnancies in Israel, the lowest possible survival rate for women who did not terminate their ectopic pregnancy prior to rupture or delivery is 88%. The entire southern region of Israel only saw 13 pregnancy-related deaths over a 23-year period extending from 1969 to 1991. That's because they have abortion rights in their country. Okay, this is why their death by pregnancy is so low. Ours is even higher because we have done away with a lot of abortion in this country. This comes to an average of 0.57 deaths per year. In 1992, the Soroka University Hospital in Beersheba reported on 148 ruptured ectopic pregnancies. The report does not provide a range of dates in which these ruptures occurred, but we know that Soroka University was established in 1960. So we can safely conclude that the 148 ruptured ectopic pregnancies reported by the hospital occurred within a 31-year time period of an average of 4.8 per year. No, that's only the ones that were allowed to continue without being treated via abortion. You keep forgetting. If we assume that, see, this is where you go wrong. You're assuming. There's no reason to. If we assume that every single pregnancy-related death in southern Israel was one of these 148 women with ruptured ectopic pregnancies, then we can calculate that a maximum of 12% of ruptured tubal pregnancies result in death of the mother. This dumbass. Now I want, see, he will not do this. I have yet to see you provide the statistics of abortions related to tubal pregnancies. Ectopic pregnancies. How many abortions occurred for that anomaly? Of course, it is highly unlikely that every single pregnancy-related death over a period of 23 years was the result of an ectopic pregnancy, and it is equally unlikely that every single one of those deaths occurred in Soroka University Hospital, so that 12% figure must be unrealistically high. Nevertheless, we can safely conclude that women in the southern region of Israel have a greater than 88% chance of surviving a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. No, because you did not factor in all of the ectopic pregnancies that were ended the moment they were detected by an actual doctor. Notice how he doesn't factor that in. It's amazing. The actual survival rate is more likely to be 99.4%. A more accurate percentage could be obtained by considering that deaths associated with ectopic pregnancies only make up about 6% of the yearly maternal deaths in America. That's because the majority of ectopic pregnancies they are dealt with. If this figure were to be applied to the maternal mortality rate of the southern Israel, we would derive that there were 0.03 ectopic related deaths per year for that region. When that figure is divided by an average of 4.8 tubal ruptures per year, we arrive at the conclusion that a woman in southern Israel has a 99.4% chance of surviving an ectopic pregnancy, which is not aborted prior to rupture. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, this guy. A similar calculation for America produces a lowest possible minimum of 97.7 survival. In addition, we could calculate the maternal risk for a number of heterotopic pregnancies, twins with one child in the womb and the other being ectopic. In America, in 1992, according to Dr. Tenor of Northwestern University Medical School in Chicago, this type of pregnancy occurs in 1 out of 2.6 thousand pregnancies, and 50% of them, 1 of every 5.2 pregnancies, are identified only after tubal rupture. According to the American Pregnancy Association, there are approximately 6 million pregnancies per year in the U.S. Therefore, there are an average of 1,150 heterotopic pregnancies every year in America, which are not even discovered, much less treated prior to tubal rupture. The CDC reported that there are an average of 26.3 maternal deaths per year that are ectopic related. That's 26 too many. If we assume that all of these ectopic related deaths were the result of an undiagnosed heterotopic pregnancy, a condition which only makes 1% of the total number of ectopic pregnancies, there would still arrive at a maternal survival rate of 97.7. Claim: an unborn child cannot survive an ectopic pregnancy. Between 1809 and 1936, there were 316 reported live births from ectopic pregnancies. Two OBGYNs in New York, Dr. Hellman and Simon, published details of 316 ectopic pregnancies, which resulted in live births between 1809 and 1936. Only half of these children survived their first week of life, but these births occurred before the development of the first neonatal intensive care unit, and most of them before the discovery of penicillin in 1928. With modern technology, it is likely that many more would have survived. Yeah, and how many of these women were able to conceive and bear children safely after that? What are your statistics about that? Notice he's very silent about that. I want to know, what was the quality of life for the woman going forward? With modern technology, there have been even more of these births in recent years, in spite of the insistence that abortion is the only viable treatment. In September of 1999, Ronan Ingram was successfully delivered via C-section. Ronan had implanted in one of his mother's fallopian tubes, which subsequently ruptured as he grew into the abdominal cavity. In May of 2008, Dura Thangaraja was born after spending a full 9 months in her mother's ovary. Sage Dalton was born in the July of 1999 after developing in the amniotic membrane outside her mother's womb. Billy Jones was born in 2008 after developing in his mother's abdominal cavity. Many additional reports could be given. So what? Termination is the only treatment for ectopic pregnancies that is recognized by the medical profession. Many OBGYNs have recommended allowing ectopic pregnancies to resolve on their own. Dr. Sapuri and Clufio, for example, have recommended that women discovered to have ectopic pregnancy prior to 28 weeks of gestation should be admitted to a hospital and closely monitored. They stress that blood transfusion facilities should be readily available in case of hemorrhage, and they suggest that once the child has reached 28 weeks of gestation, he should be delivered surgically. Yeah, and again, who's paying for this? Who's paying for all of the round-the-clock hospital? You are literally suggesting that a woman live inside a hospital for how many weeks? 3, 4, 8? If you are discovered, think about this. If you are discovered to have an ectopic pregnancy prior to 28 weeks of gestation, should be admitted. And then you're closely monitored all the way up into 28 weeks. How many weeks is that? How many of you can afford 3 days in a hospital? Much less a day. How many of you can afford a day in a hospital? And this motherfucker is literally saying, you, instead of doing away with the pregnancy and trying again, you should not only put yourself at risk, and because there's a chance you could hemorrhage. You could hemorrhage. What then? This guy is living in a pipe dream. Debating abortion for ectopic pregnancy, and then I'm going to stop. I'll pick this up, but oh my God. Now, and yeah, we're getting to the point where he has a fictitious conversation with somebody named Francesca. Oh no, it's you know what? I'm gonna read this fictitious debate. And then he talks to another person named Susan. Yeah, I'll do Francesca next week and Susan the week after. We are almost to the middle of this steaming pile of shit. But this guy not only does he not know what he's talking about, he's cherry picking and playing fast and loose with the data. Unbelievable. Imagine telling a woman you have to live in the hospital until what? And there's a good chance you could die, or there's even a bigger chance that you will be rendered infertile from this horrific experience. See, that's what he's leaving out. How many of these women were able to have the quality of life after this near-death experience? This is why we don't listen to assholes like him. This is why we do not let assholes like this in our government. These people, people like him, like this son of a bitch, people like him are going to get women killed. This asshole is going to get women killed. It's unbelievable. And look how cavalierly he talks about it. Oh, Yeah, it's only 88.8%, 94.7%, or 90. Yeah, I mean it's I can live with those numbers. Him as a man, he can live with those numbers. He's okay with it. He doesn't care. Women are just birthing vessels to him. Okay? That is, I'm telling you, people like him do not care about women. They do not care. And if you were to ask me, do I care? I'll tell you this, women care more about women than I care about women. No matter how much I can say I care about women, I care about women enough not to listen to assholes like this jackass. This is the last person you want to ever go to for medical advice. This is why we have actual credentialed doctors, nurses. Hey, and that includes me. You don't come to me for medical advice. You don't go to him for medical advice. Unbelievable. And yes, people like him vote. And I'm telling you what, if we do not get out and vote, and I mean vote Democratic, vote for Democrats, we're going to lose women are going to lose every freedom they've ever cherished and held dear. People like him would love to roll back the clock to 1860s. This guy lives in the past. He would more than love to repeat it or go back to it. So all those people that regularly do not vote, you better start thinking. You better get your mind right. Because I'll tell you what, if you don't wake up now, people like this are going to be in control. And they're going to be telling you, lady, what you can and cannot do with your own body. You're nothing. Again, I've said it before. They see you as nothing but birthing vessels. That's it. You're just a machine that pumps out babies to them. And you're only as useful as that. Once you're no longer producing babies, they don't care about you. Take the warning. These people are motivated. They'll be there at the polls. Will you be at the polls? So with that, I'll say goodnight. But start making a plan. Make sure you're on the voter rolls. Make sure that you have a backup plan and you be there on election day, or vote early. Leave nothing to chance. If you can vote early, do it. Every election, not just federal, you got local. Hey, hell, these people, if they can't take control over the federal, they'll take control over the state and the local. They don't care. They will infiltrate any place they can. And as we're finding out, local is just as important as federal. All right. Well, happy Sunday. And I will talk to you all later. Don't know exactly when or where, but it'll definitely be.
Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps offending. This is how I live into me what you told. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Take one hit this upside, but my mind won't upside. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is silent, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light, but I can also see the bones decay.